Hey everyone, ready to dig into gold IRAs? We're cracking open why Americans should open a gold IRA blueprint.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
Well, the whole idea of like owning actual gold in your retirement account. Pretty interesting, right?
Definitely, definitely. There's something about holding something tangible, you know?
Right. It's not just numbers on a screen.
Exactly. It's like a real asset.
But is it a smart move though? Guess
Not
that's
really.
what we're here to find out.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely a certain allure to gold. You know, it's been valuable for centuries.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we got to look past the shiny stuff. You know what I mean? Like what really makes a gold IRA tick?
Yeah, good point. We need to understand what it is and why you'd even consider it, compared to the usual stocks and bonds.
Exactly. So first things first, what actually sets a gold IRA apart from a regular IRA?
Well, the core difference is what you're holding in the IRA. Instead of stocks and bonds, you're investing in physical gold, so actual coins or bars. So instead of like a stock certificate, you have an actual gold coin. That's wild.
Pretty much. And of course, all that gold is stored securely for you.
Okay, so that brings up security, but we can get to that later. The article we are looking at mentions hedging against inflation. It's a big deal these days. Can you break that down a little?
Sure. So inflation, it erodes the purchasing power of your money. What 100 bucks buys today could cost you way more down the line.
Hmm.
And uh, gold has this history of holding its value when inflation hits.
So, like, even if prices go way up, your gold could still buy you roughly the same amount of stuff.
Exactly. Like if bread costs double in 10 years, the gold you had might still get you that same loaf.
Wow. That actually makes a lot of sense. Now, the article also talks about diversification as a key benefit. Is that tied to how gold performs during inflation?
Diversification is all about spreading your risk, right? Not putting all your eggs in one basket. Gold can hedge against inflation, but it doesn't always move in the same direction as the stock market.
Oh, okay. So it's like having different tools for different situations.
Yeah, like a raincoat for when it's raining, a sun hat for when it's scorching, and then you've got your gold for those economic storms.
That's a great analogy. So even if the stock market is doing its own thing, gold might be doing something completely different.
Right, like during the 2008 financial crisis, the stock market crashed hard, but gold actually went up in value.
Oh, wow. So it really can act as a cushion during those market swings. It's good to have options that could potentially offset losses. Now, the article dives into some more specific benefits of a gold IRA. It starts off with tax advantages. What's the story there?
Well, with a gold IRA, your investments grow tax-deferred, just like a traditional IRA. So you don't pay taxes on any gains until you actually take the money out in retirement.
So you're delaying those taxes, and that can make a big difference over time, especially for retirement planning.
Exactly. And with a Roth Gold IRA, your withdrawals in retirement could even be tax-free.
Wow, so you're potentially eliminating those taxes altogether. That's a pretty sweet deal. But what about actual returns? Can a gold IRA potentially grow your wealth over time?
There's definitely potential for growth. Like we talked about, gold tends to hold its value when things get rough. Sometimes it even increases in value.
Right. But it's not like a get-rich-quick scheme.
Exactly. It's not about timing the market, but more about incorporating a potentially stable asset into your long-term retirement strategy.
Gotcha. Speaking of strategy, the article mentions that another advantage of a gold IRA is the control you have over your investments. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. With a gold IRA, you get to choose exactly which gold assets you want, whether it's those American Eagle coins, the Canadian Maple Leafs, even gold bars from different places around the world.
Oh, cool. So you're not just handing over your money to a fund manager and crossing your fingers.
Nope, you get a say in how your gold IRA is structured.
That level of control can be really empowering for some investors. But let's face it, no investment is without risk. What are some of the potential downsides of a gold IRA we need to be aware of?
The main risk is the volatility of gold prices. While gold can be a safe haven, especially during certain conditions, its price can go up and down quite a bit in the short term.
So even though gold might hold its value over the long term, there can be bumps along the road.
Yeah, it's not always a smooth ride, and investors should be prepared for those ups and downs. Another risk, and you got to be really careful about this one, is the potential for a fraud in the gold market.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. When you're dealing with something as valuable as gold, there are always going to be people trying to take advantage.
Exactly. You have to be really careful when selecting a gold IRA provider.
So do your research.
Yeah, lots of research. Look for a company with a solid track record. Read reviews from other investors, and check for any red flags or complaints.
So trust but verify. Don't just take their word for it.
Exactly. And lastly, Gotta remember that gold IRAs are not as liquid as some other investments. Selling physical gold takes time. It's not like selling stocks with a click of a button.
So if you think you might need access to your money quickly, a gold IRA might not be the best option.
Yeah, it's probably better to have a mix of assets in your portfolio, some that are more liquid and some that are meant for the long haul.
Great advice. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about what makes a gold IRA unique, its potential to protect against inflation, and even act as a safe haven during economic downturns.
We talked about the tax advantages, the control you have, and even touched on some of the risks to watch out for.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're not financial advisors.
Definitely not.
This is just an informational deep dive, folks.
Just exploring ideas.
But hey, it's a good starting point.
Definitely. Always do your own research and maybe talk to a financial advisor before making any big decisions.
Absolutely. All right, that wraps up part 1 of our deep dive into gold IRAs. Be sure to catch part 2, where we will get deeper into the specifics of choosing the right provider and setting up an account.
Looking forward to it.
See you then.
All right, so picking up where we left off, I bet some folks are thinking, why not just buy gold outright? Why bother with the whole IRA thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, wouldn't it be simpler to just buy some coins or bars and keep them yourself?
Well, the big difference is taxes. Remember those tax advantages we talked about? Those only apply if the gold is inside an IRA.
Oh, right, right. So outside of an IRA, it's just like owning any other valuable, no special tax breaks.
Exactly. But with a gold IRA, you can potentially defer those taxes and even withdraw tax-free in retirement, depending on the type of IRA.
Makes sense. Saving on taxes is always a good thing, especially when you're thinking about retirement. Now, something I've been wondering about is the whole geopolitical side of things. We talked about inflation and economic uncertainty, but what about stuff happening around the world, like wars and political instability? How does that affect gold?
That's a really interesting point. Gold is kind of like a mirror to global sentiment. When things get tense on the world stage, people flock to gold as a safe haven. Drives the price up.
So it's not just about numbers and economic data, it's reflecting how people are feeling about the state of the world.
Yeah, kind of like a psychological indicator almost as much as a financial one.
That's pretty wild. Okay, so we've talked about the bigger picture stuff. Let's circle back to gold IRAs specifically. Choosing a provider seems like a big deal. What are the key things people should be looking for?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you're trusting them with a big chunk of your retirement savings.
Right, it's not something to take lightly. So where do you even begin?
First things first, track record and reputation. Do your homework, dig into the company, read reviews from other investors, and watch out for any red flags.
So like background checks for gold IRA companies?
Pretty much. You don't want to just jump in blindly.
Hmm.
Then look for transparency. Make sure the provider's upfront about their fees and all the costs involved, like storage and everything.
No hidden surprises. Transparency is key.
Definitely. And think about investment options, too. Different providers offer different things. Some might focus on coins, others might have more bars or rounds or a wider selection.
So finding a provider that aligns with the kind of gold you want to invest in.
Exactly. And don't forget about customer service. You want a provider who's going to be there for you, answer your questions, and guide you through the whole process.
Yeah, someone you can trust. So reputation, transparency, investment options, and customer service.
Got it. Now, what about the actual process of setting up a gold IRA? Is it pretty much the same across the board?
Yeah, the general steps are usually similar. You start by doing your research, picking a provider that you feel good about.
So back to that due diligence.
Right. And most providers offer a free consultation. It's a good chance to ask questions, talk about your goals, and see if you vibe with them.
Like a test drive before you buy the car.
Exactly. If you decide to move forward after the consultation, then it's usually paperwork time, standard account opening stuff.
The necessary evil.
Yep. You'll give your personal info, choose your beneficiaries, and pick the type of gold IRA, traditional or Roth.
Okay, so far so good. Then what?
Then you fund your account. You can transfer money from other retirement accounts, or you can make new contributions. Oh, so if you have an old 401k sitting around, you could roll that into a gold IRA.
Exactly. And then comes the fun part, picking your gold.
Now we're talking. So you get to hand-pick the coins or bars that you want in your IRA.
Yep. Your provider will usually help you out, give you some guidance based on your goals and risk tolerance.
That's awesome. So it's really tailored to you.
Definitely. And then they take care of all the logistics, buying the gold and storing it securely for you.
Wait, so I don't have to worry about finding a super safe place to hide a gold bar under my mattress?
Nope. The custodian handles all that. There are pros at storing precious metals safely and securely.
Okay, that's a relief. I don't need that kind of stress in my life.
And then they keep you in the loop with regular statements and updates about your account.
So it's an ongoing partnership, not just a one-time transaction.
Exactly. They're there to support you every step of the way.
Awesome. So we covered a lot about the process, from choosing a provider to picking out your gold and knowing you have ongoing support.
It's definitely a lot to take in.
It is. But just to reiterate, we're not financial advisors. This is just for informational purposes.
Right. Do your own research, talk to the experts, and make sure a gold IRA is right for you.
Couldn't agree more. And we are back for the final part of our Gold IRA deep dive. We've gone through the potential benefits and risks, talked about choosing a provider, and how to actually set up an account. But I'm sure some of you out there still have some questions.
Yeah, there are always more questions.
Exactly. So let's tackle a few of those that come up a lot. First one, a classic. How much gold should you actually have in your IRA? Like, is there a magic percentage?
That's a great question, and there isn't like a one-size-fits-all answer. The ideal allocation depends on a bunch of things, like what are your overall investment goals, how much risk are you comfortable with, and how long are you investing for? All of that plays a role.
Right. It makes sense that's got to be tailored to your individual situation.
Yeah, for sure. Some financial advisors might say 5% to 10% of your retirement portfolio is a good starting point for gold, just for diversification. But, others might recommend going higher if you're really worried about things like inflation or geopolitical risks.
So a financial advisor could help figure out the right balance.
Definitely. Having a personalized approach is key. You don't want to just blindly follow some generic advice.
Okay, that makes sense. Here's another one I get a lot. What happens to your gold IRA if, well, something happens to you?
That's important. Just like with a regular IRA, you'll need to name beneficiaries who will inherit your assets.
Makes sense. So got to make sure those designations are crystal clear in your paperwork.
Absolutely. It's also a good idea to actually talk to your beneficiaries so they understand how to handle the inherited gold IRA. Saves a lot of headaches later.
Good point. Good communication is key. Now, let's talk about fees. We know they're important, but what kind of fees are we talking about with a gold IRA?
Well, there are a few common ones. You usually have a setup fee to get the account going.
Makes sense. Get the ball rolling.
Right. And then there's an annual maintenance fee for, managing the account.
So those are pretty typical fees.
Yeah, you see them with lots of investment accounts.
Okay, then what else is there?
You also have storage fees to keep your physical gold safe and sound.
Right. Got to keep that gold secure.
Exactly. Those fees can be different depending on who the custodian is and what kind of storage you choose.
So make sure you understand those storage costs up front.
Definitely. And there might also be some transaction fees when you're actually buying or selling the gold within the IRA.
Okay, so we've got setup fees, annual maintenance, storage fees, and potential transaction fees. Got to keep an eye on all of those.
Yep. Always a good idea to compare different providers and see what their fee structure looks like.
Okay, big question now. Is a gold IRA actually a good investment right now? The economy's kind of unpredictable.
That's the question, isn't it? Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen, but historically, gold has done pretty well when things get rough.
Like during recessions and stuff?
Exactly. It tends to hold its value, sometimes even go up when other investments are tanking. Plus, it's good for hedging against inflation, which, is a big concern right now.
So gold still has that safe haven appeal.
It does. It's not about getting rich quick. It's more about protecting what you have and navigating those uncertain times.
It's like a form of financial insurance almost.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping things up, where does a gold IRA fit into a good retirement plan?
Yeah.
Everyone needs one.
Right. Like, is it a must-have?
I would say it's for absolutely everyone, but it's definitely something to think about if you're looking to diversify your portfolio, protect yourself against inflation, and have that safe haven asset.
So not the core of your retirement plan necessarily, but maybe a valuable addition.
Exactly. It all comes down to your individual needs, what your goals are, how much risk you're willing to take.
And as always, do your research. Talk to the experts before jumping in.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. So there you have it, folks. Our Gold IRA deep dive. We've explored the good, the bad, and everything in between. Hopefully you learned a thing or two and feel a little bit more confident about navigating a world of gold and retirement planning.
Definitely lots to think about.
Remember, though, this is just the starting point. Always do your own research, talk to your financial advisor, and make those informed decisions. You got this. Thanks for joining.